Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome to this special edition of Jerry's Take on China, and I'm Jerry. Why is this take so special? Usually, I'll be talking about current events, something that's happened, and I'll give reasons why I think China is misunderstood as a result of that. Today, I'm going to talk about a news event, and one which probably has the most serious ramifications in modern history. Today's date is the 3rd of August 2022, and last night, about 10:40 p.m., the highest ranking Democratic politician underneath the president arrived in Taiwan. She's on a visit that is almost unprecedented. It has happened before, and while it did create a stir back then, it wasn't as serious as this time. What makes this so serious this time? Let's get the one country issue out of the way first of all, because that's very important. First of all, this isn't about the situation in Taiwan. The UN recognizes, the US says it recognizes, the Chinese constitutions of both the People's Republic of China and the Republic of China also recognize that Taiwan is a part of China. So although there are many people who say there's a difference, they can't argue that if the people of Taiwan and the people of China, the mainland, both recognize that they're parts of the same country, then no matter what your opinion, your thoughts, or your desires may be, they're part of the same country. It's their decision. So this matter is really an internal affair to be handled by the people of China. A military plane landing in part of China is a serious matter. It's a lot more serious when that plane is carrying the second in line to the presidency. And just a few days after the president of the US told the president of China that nothing has changed in US policy, there is only one China. It gets even more serious when we learn that Pelosi was not invited. She's actually forced herself upon the people of Taiwan, and many of them don't want her there. The people of China on both sides of the strait are quite rightfully very angry about this move. People in Taiwan are demonstrating. They have Chinese signs written on Chinese paper outside the airport and outside the hotel where Pelosi was resting last night. On the other hand, there are a few supporters of the US in Taiwan. And there's a lot of money going one way and another through trade and through other things. So of course, there are some people who are okay with this. They like the idea of this escalation. However, when we see those supporters, we see English signs, not Chinese signs. We see them wearing Ukraine face masks, not Chinese or even medical face masks. And what I think when I see this is that these are not Chinese patriots. They're not even Taiwanese patriots, if there is such a thing. These are people who are organized by outside influences. Where else would they get Ukrainians supporting face masks? Why else would they have already pre-printed signs in English? It doesn't take a genius to understand that these people are being organized and supplied by their organizers are not from Taiwan. I'll leave it for you to figure out who's doing that and why. That's a different story. During the day today, I've been scouring the news, looking for snippets of information about how this will end. And let's be honest, everything and anything that I might suggest here is pure speculation. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in China has released a statement. They did so at 11 p.m. last night. They condemned the action as a breach of an agreement that has stood the test of time. They explained that Americans coming into China against the wishes of Chinese people are not welcome here. The statement didn't describe what action will be taken, and this is where it's very interesting. By the time this video gets to air, it's quite likely the situation will have changed. Pelosi's visit was an on-again, off-again affair. Will she come or won't she come? And then she did. Within minutes, Chinese anger was all over social media. These people who say Chinese can't criticize the government were not on social media last night. They weren't seeing what ordinary Chinese people were saying. because last night this was very active. The messages I've heard are very mixed. Some people want China to talk, some people want action, and some are just angry, but they don't really know what they want. Some comments on international social media indicate that many people think, and these are both inside and outside of China, that China has shown some weakness here. The truth is, in my opinion, China has shown a great deal of strength. It takes a massive amount of discipline not to throw a punch when someone is squaring off against you, and China has shown it has that discipline. There are going to be consequences. I think those consequences will be very hard and they will hurt. They'll probably hurt both sides. During the day today, I've made a point of asking many people, about 50 people, for their opinion on what China should do. About 30% of them say China should go to war. Admittedly, this is not scientific or academic, but that means there's definitely a feeling that this act by America was an act of war against China. About 40% said China should talk, but when they said that, others joined the conversation and said, China's talked enough. They've been talking and telling the truth for years, but many people still believe bad things about China, so now they need to act. Some of them want that act to be a war. Many of the rest of them want strong and hard economic sanctions. So here's my opinion for what it's worth. I've kept a low profile on this topic because, to be honest, I didn't think Pelosi would be allowed to go through with it. But what's noticeable by his absence, allegedly with a second bout of COVID, Biden has done and said nothing. Personally, I believe he's been sidelined. It's quite possible that he's no longer fit to stand in front of a press gallery and answer the tough questions needed at this time of crisis. And a crisis is exactly what this is. Although many in the USA don't quite realize that yet. I predicted that China would not fire a shot. I agreed with several other people who held that opinion. I disagree that a war is necessary. I live in Guangdong and it's a manufacturing hub. If a war starts, we're going to be targets. Many people will die. I'm not ready for that yet, and neither are most of my friends. Probably all of my friends, actually. The USA are the only country ever to have dropped a nuclear bomb on a civilian population. And they haven't signed up to the no first strike policy. China has a position of strength and would, I think, easily win a local war over a fleet of ships in and around Chinese waters. China has the weaponry, it has rockets, it has missiles, and it can do a great deal of damage to a fleet that's a very, very long way from home, which most of the US and Allied fleet are. But America has nuclear weapons and has proven it will use them. The US has also dehumanized Chinese people and desensitized their own citizens through years of yellow peril stories. There are untrue genocide and forced labor allegations in Xinjiang. There are unwarranted allegations of restrictions of free speech and freedom of the press in Hong Kong. There is unfair blame for a pandemic that they couldn't handle, and even allegations of aggression against Taiwan because China has built up a military that is capable of defending itself against the fleets of foreign vehicles that are currently parked off the Chinese coast. It makes me wonder if all of these things were precursors that led us to this point. If China attacked the US fleet, or if China shot Pelosi's plane down, or showed any other form of assertive military action, the USA would cry havoc and release the dogs of war. They've manufactured consent for a war, they've already dropped nuclear bombs, and it isn't such a difficult thing to think that they could, and maybe they are likely to do that again when they're losing their fleet in the South China Sea. War is not the answer. Discipline is. The consequences are just too catastrophic for both sides to think about. Despite those many people on Twitter and other social media saying that China has shown weakness, this is a demonstration of great strength, great character, and incredible discipline. My opinion is pure speculation, but for what it's worth, here's what I think China might do, or perhaps I should say, here's my advice, China. This is what I think you should do. Economic sanctions are of course important, but first of all, Nicholas Burns, the US ambassador to China, needs to be sent home. He is already proven to be anti-China and anti-cooperation. Based on his social media, that's easy to believe. He's not the person to be negotiating out of this mess. He does not have the respect of the Chinese people. Also, every trading or merchant ship that is on the way to the USA that is under Chinese command should be called back to China. This means the shops and factories of America will all but close down quite soon. This will affect the already high unemployment, as well as the very high inflation, which is already there. It will soar further. There'll be a great deal of discontent. The high crime rate will increase. Incarceration rates can't go much higher. The prisons are already full. America is experiencing increasing poverty as well as homelessness and rising debt. They also, without admitting it, still have a COVID crisis that is out of control. The people of America will do to their government what the United States has been trying to do in Iran, Venezuela, previously in China, and for over 70 years in Cuba. It will ignite uncontrollable civil disobedience. The USA also has the world's highest number of prescription drug addicts. It has one of the world's highest number of illicit drug and substance addicts, and it has the world's largest collection of privately owned guns. Most of America's prescription drugs are made here in China. And if they don't get to the pharmacies in America every few days, there's going to be problems. Huge problems. Something no one wants to consider is a drug addict with a gun who cannot get his or her medication. This is how China can show its strength, not by fighting, but by exposing the weaknesses of its enemy. And America is China's enemy right now. China's Communist Party prides itself on listening to the people and acting in the people's best interests. The people are angry, and the party knows this. We will see some decisions soon, and they will be decisive. Maybe they won't be what I suggest, but they will be hard. If you have any comments, if you'd like to add anything, please feel free to do so in the comment box below, and I will get back to you. Thanks very much for joining Jerry's Take on China for this very special edition. Peace to everyone.